Bug Group team, welcome. This month we're going to do something a little different for our safety training videos. And that is because what you guys are doing during this next month is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be doing some project work. A lot of you work at accounts that are associated with schools, and what that means is the teachers are out, the students are out, and we're going to be cleaning floors, scrubbing carpets, doing some pressure washing, moving a lot of furniture. And so I brought in our resident project work expert, Justin Schoenberger, and he's going to talk us through how to do some of these projects and do them safely. So the first thing we wanted to talk about is how to move furniture correctly and lift things properly, because when the summer comes, inevitably we have a lot of people pulling backs and hurting shoulders because they're lifting stuff they shouldn't be, or they're doing it the wrong way. So one of the things that we see is people actually just lifting trash bags incorrectly. For instance, we have a lot of people, they just come over and they just think they're going to snatch this thing. What in the world? Man, this thing's heavy. What do you think's in here?
Alston, I'd be willing to bet there's some books in there. It's the end of the school year, and a lot of teachers are just throwing things away. Plus, genius, they just happen to be sitting here. So.
Oh my goodness, you're right. Yeah, teachers do that all the time. They don't think a lot about what we're throwing away and lifting, and so it's important, if you're going to lift something like this, to make sure you just take a second and tug on a little bit, figure out how heavy it's going to be, and then maybe Justin will show us how you should properly lift it.
And this is the same for when you're putting equipment up into trucks. A lot of the floor teams have some heavy equipment. You want to make sure that everything that you lift, you're using your legs, you're keeping your back straight, and you're just picking it up kind of like that versus just using your back like Halston was.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah, so use your legs, not your back, and make sure you test the load to see how heavy it might be. Another thing that happens is we end up having to move a lot of furniture for teachers, whether it's they want us to rearrange it, or maybe we're going to be doing some floor work, and so we have to move the furniture out of the way to do it. And that means lifting some heavy stuff, something like this dresser. So what I would recommend, if anytime you have to lift something that's going to be as heavy as this dresser, or something you can't lift by yourself easily, call in a teammate, call somebody like Justin and say, hey man, I need to do these floors, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to move some furniture, so I need your help. And then you're going to lift it in the exact same way. You're going to use your legs first, lift it, and work together to lift something that you couldn't otherwise lift by yourself. If you are by yourself, there are ways to do it, and some of that is equipment.
Yeah, I mean, we have some phenomenal tools provided by the Bug Group, be it hand trucks, the flatbed carts, dollies. There's all sorts of things that are available to us to make sure that we're not hurting ourselves, because we're not good to anybody if we got to miss a day of work, or, God forbid, longer than that. So
absolutely right. Always worth it to take the time to do it the right way. Find somebody to help you lift it, or use the equipment that's going to make it easy on you so that you don't end up hurt. Well, that's great. That's the first thing we wanted to tackle here, so let's move on to another project.
All right, sounds good.
Pro safety tip number 1. Before lifting or moving anything, make sure to test how heavy it is before you try to move it. If it can be moved easily, then make sure you're using the proper technique. Bend your knees and use the legs. Don't bend or use your back so that we avoid injury. If the object is too heavy, call a teammate to help you, or seek out the proper equipment.
Well, you've shown us a lot of really cool projects today. One more I want to ask you about, though, is as we've been walking around, and the guys at home can't see this, but these floors look fantastic. They're shiny, clean. I mean, you can almost see your reflection in them. So how are you guys able to do that?
Well, there are many components to a good floor program. There's, of course, sweeping, mopping, things that are happening generally every day, but then there's also scrubbing and burnishing, and at the root of all of that stuff is stripping and waxing.
Gotcha. Stripping and waxing.
Yep.
So I guess this is a machine that does it then.
It sure is. This is called a rotary floor machine. These have been around for a pretty long time. These are definitely at the root of floor care. They spin at about 135 revolutions per minute. And you can put all sorts of different attachments on there. You can scrub the floor with them, you can scrub tile with them, You can do carpet with them. Just a lot of different things go on this machine.
Very cool. Why don't you tell our folks watching, how are we going to use this thing safely? What are some kind of maintenance items we need to look out for to do it safely?
Well, there are some things that you definitely want to make sure are done. A manager can do in between jobs. When the job is actually started is not the time to be trying to fix a cord or something like that. So kind of a checklist that a manager can go through is, at the root of it is the cord. You can see this one is not a clean cord. It's got some stripper and wax residue on it, but there are no cuts on it. And the next thing you want to look at is even this plug right down here. It's got a cover on it that slides back. And you can see that this plug actually goes into this other piece. And if that comes unplugged like that, or if it's hanging out, that could be the same thing as having a cut or something like that in the cord. You're still talking about electricity mixing with water, which we all know can have some tragic results.
Never good.
And then also this bolt on here is a really important thing. You want to make sure that that is tight. A manager can come through with some channel locks or some type of a wrench and just make sure that that is tight, because if that's not tight, this is the lever that locks the handle up and down, and if that bolt or that nut is not tight on that bolt, you can turn this all day and the handle's still going to move, and that could result in loss of control for the user if they've got the handle down and all of a sudden it flies up or something like that.
Okay, one more thing I noticed is I think that plug looks new, that replacement plug, but the cord looks old. So is that a new plug?
That is a new plug. These have 3 prongs on them. You can see I'm pulling out by the actual plug itself and not the cord. But these 3 prongs are really important. That big one right here in the bottom, that's the ground plug, and a lot of times these will fall out. They fall out because people may try to get 35 feet out of a 30-foot cord, and they're just trying to get just a little bit further with that machine, and the pressure pulls that out away from the wall.
Very good, very good. So to me, it looks a little complicated to run this thing. How do you steer it once it's going?
Well, it's actually a lot easier than it seems. It does take some practice and some good adequate training. You lower the handle, and I like to put this somewhere down around my belt, and then you want to make sure this is tight all the way so it doesn't go up and down without you wanting it to go up and down. And then it's got a start switch right here that you lift up. You squeeze the trigger. I'm not going to do it because it's plugged in and it'll turn on. But then once it starts rolling, you just lift up and down to have it go left and right. And then of course walking is going to make it go forward and backwards.
So up is left?
Up or down is left and up is right.
Okay.
There's no shame in not knowing that off the top of your head.
That's good, yeah.
I want to make sure I was right.
Very good. Okay, very cool. So before, I want to actually see you run this thing and show us how you would do this room, but before we do that, is there any kind of PPE that you would recommend wearing when you're doing something like this, or any equipment that we would need to get this job done?
I am so glad you asked, because Halston, it seems like a lot of places that I go, stripping and waxing is such an important part of what we do here at the Bud Group that people kind of disregard the safety things. But stripper, whether it's mixed up or definitely straight out of the jug, can be absolutely corrosive. I've seen it eat through paper or styrofoam cups before. That's how strong this stuff is. So it's really important that we're protecting ourselves.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now this is kind of out of the ordinary, but you want to put on your gloves before you start working. Now usually when people are cleaning bathrooms, you want to take them off as you leave the bathroom so that you're not taking germs from the bathroom and taking them out. That's because you're trying to prevent the spread of germs. We're putting these on today simply to protect our hands.
Okay.
So everything that you do when you're mixing up your stripper and you're putting on your getting ready to go, basically, you want to have your gloves on, because you never know where there's going to be some old stripper. Maybe it's on an old shoe cover, maybe it's on a funnel. It's a good idea to have the gloves on. Sort of at the heart of our protection are shoe covers. These are the Shoes for Crews, used by the Bud Group. These do a really, really phenomenal job for just regular wet surfaces if you're just mopping a floor or something like that. There have been some issues with stuff getting built up in these treads, and
see that.
yeah, the treads are very, very close together. And you're going to be taking old finish off mixed with stripper, so it's going to turn into like a glue. And over time, it's just going to clog these treads up, and these aren't going to do any good. So it's really important to rinse them out at the end of your shift.
Okay, so rinse them out if you want those things to be effective. Otherwise, it's like wearing ice skates.
It is. That's exactly the way it is. Another good thing about these is they also protect your shoes.
That's okay.
I mean, some
good
people
point.
don't want to get their shoes messed up. But these are probably the favorites among everybody that I've seen. These just simply strap onto your shoes. Now, they don't do anything as far as protecting your shoes, but this material, feel that, Halston.
Yeah, it feels exactly like the pad.
This is exactly the same material as a stripping pad. And these just do a phenomenal job giving you traction. When you get into the details and the stuff, not just the main floor that you're going to be doing with the machine, but most floor jobs usually have one or two people going around with like a putty knife or a scraper getting the baseboards and all that stuff. You want to make sure that they've got some type of knee protection.
Okay.
These are just your standard knee pads.
So that would protect your knees as well as keeping the chemical off you.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And then another thing that a lot of people overlook, but it's really important, that person who's down there scraping with a putty knife that's flexible and bending has glasses on.
That's right.
Because at any time, I've seen it happen, at any time the stripper can get up into their eyes. And
gotcha.
I've seen what it does to flesh. I don't want to know what it does to eyeballs.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, when it comes time to mixing the stripper, you always want to follow the manufacturer's instructions as far as the proportion. For those of you who don't know that, a really easy way of doing that is taking 128, because that's the number of ounces in a gallon, and if the solution's calling for 1 to 4, then you divide it by 4. If it's calling for 1 to 6, you would divide 128 by 6. And that's going to give you the number of ounces of stripper you should mix with a gallon of water.
Gotcha.
I like using these real thin funnels, and I know a lot of people like to buy measuring cups from the store, and they're actual measuring cups, but those get lost, those get misplaced in closets. Everybody's got these. So you can see that there's a measuring ounces on there, and that's why you get the more narrow funnels, because these fit down in there. And then stripper's going to come in a case, and you just empty it down in there, and you can measure it up. Always have goggles on.
I was going to say, one thing I've seen as well is sometimes you drop it or it hits something, or it's just important anytime you're pouring chemicals, no matter what chemicals, make sure you're wearing goggles.
Yes, and I mean, people who have done floors for a while will tell you that stripper is no joke. I've gotten it under fingernails, and it hurts.
Gotcha.
And it just keeps on eating away at whatever it's touching.
So, we've gone through everything here. I think the last thing is, why don't you show us how to use this thing? I know there are a lot of different techniques, but if you would, just talk us through and show us what you think is the best way to kind of make your way around a room like this.
The route is really, really important. We're not going to strip this floor today, so I just have a polishing pad on here, but I'll do the same exact route that I would do if it were soaking in stripper and I was taking the wax off.
All right, take it away.
All right.
After working his way out of the room with the stripping solution, notice how Justin works the perimeter of the room first with the rotary floor machine to avoid walking in the stripping solution. This gives him a safe walking surface around the room. Then he's able to strip the middle of the room in a back and forth manner, again to avoid stepping in the solution. Pro safety tip number 2. First, look at the machine. Ensure the cord has no nicks or cuts, is fully intact, and is properly plugged in. Look at the plug and the outlet and make sure they're safe for use. When stripping a floor, make sure you're using the proper technique. Hold the handlebars firmly with both hands and at waist level. Move slowly and ensure the cord is out of the way of the machine. Use the right PPE. Gloves, shoe covers, knee pads, and eye protection are all necessary throughout this process. Finally, start on the perimeter and work your way in. This way, we'll avoid stepping on any wet surfaces.
Well, Justin, call me crazy, but this looks like the exact same machine we just used to strip and wax. Is that right?
Yeah, it definitely is the same machine. These rotary floor machines can be used for a variety of cleaning applications, and we're going to use it to clean this carpet out right now.
So what method of cleaning carpet is this called? What are we about to do?
We're going to encapsulate this carpet.
Okay.
I'm going to show you how to do it. We're not actually going to do it right now, but...
Gotcha. So is that the only way there is to clean carpet?
Well, no, definitely not. There's encapsulation, there's extraction, there's bonneting, there's traditional old-fashioned, I call it, shampooing. A lot of places frown upon it, but I know it's still out there, and it's all generally used with this pad.
Okay, so when are we going to use the encapsulation method?
That would be for like this carpet right here.
Okay.
That's you don't see any visible stains on it. It just has some dirt trails and stuff. You can tell where the occupant's gone over to his or her desk, and the encapsulation is going to get that dirt up out of the carpet pretty easily.
All right, so I know you pointed at this pad. So we're just going to slap that pad on it and run it like a vacuum?
Absolutely not. If you were to do that, it would probably send you right through this door, perhaps even the wall. These things put out 1 3/4 horsepower, which doesn't sound like enough, but I've seen it throw a 350-pound guy into drywall and leave a dent because this pad was bone dry.
Okay, so how do we do it then?
Well, when you have the encapsulation cleaner in here, most of the time it's in a pump sprayer. You mix it up according to the label instructions, and you want to spray it on the carpet in small areas, but before you actually get started, you want to practically drench this pad, because as long as the pad's wet, it tends to not get stuck in the carpet and send people into walls and that sort of thing.
Okay, so we got to get the pad wet.
Yep, and another thing that I'll show you is really, really important, and the managers can do this in between jobs, just sort of as a routine maintenance thing, is if you see this nut right here over this bolt, that is actually a locking nut. Sometimes these nuts will get lost and people go down to the hardware store and just put a regular nut on there, not a locking nut, and this vibrates, this comes loose, and then what you have is a situation where this handle, you might be running it, and it's really important that when you're doing the carpet with these pads, most people have the most control when the handle's right around their belt clip, but you don't want, once you lock this into position, you don't want it to move suddenly when you aren't planning on it. And if that nut is not tight on there, this thing may come unlocked and it may do just that, and you may lose complete control of the machine.
Gotcha. Okay, so what other safety stuff do we need to know about running this machine when we're doing it on carpet?
Well, as far in getting back to that nut, I don't want to harp on it too much, but as a routine maintenance thing, you need some sort of tool to actually get that nut. It needs to be really, really tight. Okay. If that thing comes loose, you can turn this all you want, and the handle is still going to come unlocked on its own, sort of like it does right there.
Gotcha.
That's a routine thing. And then really the same things when we're stripping a floor, they apply to this machine. Don't have any nicks or cuts or anything in your cords. Make sure you've got 3 prongs on there. You can see this one was actually replaced. These with the ground plugs, it's got to have the 3 plugs on there. They're like, I don't know, maybe $3 down at the hardware store, and definitely doesn't take an electrician to swap one of these out. That's pretty much about it when it comes to carpet.
All right, well, good to know. Thanks for showing that to me. There was one more project I was hoping to see while I was here. I was hoping you could tell me.
Oh, in Halston, I don't want to cut you off, but it's really, really important that we have wet floor signs, even when we're doing carpet.
Oh, man, I'm glad you told me that. I almost forgot. So even though we're on, I can't slip on the carpet, though.
You can't.
So why would you need them?
Because you may have somebody, when you're doing carpet, most of these methods are low moisture, so you don't have to shut down the area. You may have people still working while you're cleaning the carpet, and they're going to come walking through here on this wet carpet. It's going to get their shoes wet, and right out there is VCT. And if the finished VCT comes in contact with a wet shoe, then it's a really good chance for slipping. There are many more falls, as far from what I understand. That's if somebody's going to fall, it's when they're not expecting to fall. So they're walking across this carpet thinking they have good traction, take a step out there and they don't have any traction.
Man, that's great to know. Good. Well, last thing I wanted to see was a little bit of pressure washing. So could you show me a little bit about pressure washing? Maybe go outside and see that?
I'd really, really like to, and I do know a fair amount of that, but we happen to have a resident expert right here in this office. His name's Marco.
Awesome.
Let me go get him. Hey Marco, you in here?
Yeah.
You come out here a minute with Halston. He wants you to show him a little bit about pressure washing.
Sure, I'd love to.
Hey, Halston.
Hey, Halston. How you doing, man?
I'm good. You want to show me a little bit about pressure washing?
I'd love to. I got a guy down at the stadium right now doing some.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Pro safety tip number 3. Make sure your cleaning pad is fully wet using the encapsulation solution before you put it on the rotary machine. Then, fully tighten the locking mechanism, which is located below the handlebars, before you turn it on. Also, make sure the plug is safe to use. Then, always place wet floor signs around the area, even when you're cleaning carpet.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Halston, this is Dennis. He works on our landscaping crew.
Yeah,
nice to
nice
He's
to
doing
meet you.
a little bit of pressure washing for us today.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so tell me a little about what he's doing here.
Well, we got some discoloration on the concrete here at the football stadium. We're trying to get cleaned up with the pressure washer.
Very good. So I see he's wearing a lot of stuff. Tell me a little bit about what you need to be wearing when you're pressure washing.
Well, first of all, you got to have the right PPE. You need to be wearing earplugs, your safety glasses. It's preferred to have steel-toed shoes on because the pressure washer is such a high-pressure piece of machinery. It can cause severe injury.
So that water's coming out fast enough right there to hurt somebody.
Yes, it can. It's actually it's high pressure. It can cause high-pressure injection, water injection injuries. And 9 times out of 10 that leads to amputation or severe nerve damage.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Good to know. So
Yep.
PPE is important.
Very important.
So how do you get the thing started?
Well, first of all, a lot of people don't understand that you really need to turn the water on to the unit before you crank the unit up.
So you need to hook it
Okay.
up and turn the water on before you start.
Hook it up, turn the water
Okay.
on, make sure that you get a flow of water into it. Then most of them have a kill switch on it.
Okay.
You can turn it on, turn it off by that switch. Adjust your carburetor, your throttle, and give it a pull.
Gotcha. All right. So when you're pressure washing, how far away do we need to be? How do we need to spray to?
Well, there's different tips.
Okay.
The red tip is a 0 degree tip. That is a very fine stream that you don't want to use when you're pressure washing concrete or anything like that. That can really damage the surface and also cause injury to somebody.
Okay.
If they hit them. Then you got a yellow tip and a white tip and a black tip. The yellow tip, I believe, is the 25 degree.
Okay.
Then it goes to a 45 degree. But with those tips, we normally run the yellow tip or the white tip.
Okay.
So
So a little bit wider spray.
a wider spray, and you don't want to put it right down on top of the surface. You want to keep a good even swing with your 6 inches or so.
Okay.
Keep it kind of in an angle.
And keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
Okay.
And
And I'm sure different pressure washers have different color tips, right? So I guess you just need to pay attention to what the number is and follow the preferred guidelines for what surface you're using it on.
Right. Actually, the yellow tip is 15 degree, the white tip is 40 degree, and the red tip is 0 degree, like I say. And you want to stay away from that red tip.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. Either the white tip or the yellow tip is what we use for doing concrete cleaning.
Very good. All right, so we're all done. We've cleaned everything up. We got the concrete looking nice. How do we need to turn it off?
Well, you turn your unit off. You cut the switch off on the unit. You go and cut your water off. Then you release the pressure on the unit from the gun.
Okay. So machine off first,
Right.
and then water off, and then we're going to release the pressure.
Right,
In
right.
that order. Well, very good. Dennis, I guess we need to let you get back to work, man, but I appreciate you taking time to show us some of this stuff.
All right, buddy. We'll see you later.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Pro safety tip number 4. Always use the correct PPE while pressure washing. Use earplugs, eye protection, and steel-toed shoes. Before you turn the pressure washer on, first attach the water hose and release any pressure that's built up in the nozzle. Then crank it to start the engine. Also, make sure you have the correct nozzle tip attached. When you start cleaning, maintain a 6-inch distance from the surface, away from your body, and clean using a lateral sweeping motion. When you're finished, turn off the machine first, then turn off the water source. Remember to release any pressure that's built up in the nozzle afterwards.